Hi guys, it's Jonathan here from Aus Speed Automotive. I recently posted a photo on our Instagram page in regards to one of the cars I'm building, which is my 1971 XY GT Replica, and I had a lot of feedback in regards to it, so I thought I'd use my initiative and do a video on my build. So we're actually here in my shed today, which is a little bit different, but yeah, we'll get started. I'll set the camera up nicely and we'll do a video, and I'll talk you through my car, when I bought it, how I bought it, where I bought it from, and the extent I'm going on this restoration. So I'll set the camera up and we'll get started. Okay guys, so here she is. This is my XY Fairmont, which I have started to turn into a XY GT Phase 3 replica. The reason why I've gone down the path of choosing to do a replica car is due to the fact that the real ones are very scarce and also very expensive. In the current market, we're looking at them at between $699,000 and $1 million Australian. So they are a very sought after car. The reason why I chose to restore one of these into a XY GT is because it's been a passion of mine since I was 12 years old, and I've always said ever since then that I'd own one, so no better than to do a replica. The best part of actually doing a replica is I can personalise it and do a few things that I want to do. So what I'll do is through this vlog I'm just going to talk about where I got the car from. I'll talk about what I'm doing to it, how far I've actually gone on the car so far, and also what my plans are basically once the car's finished. So when I bought this, it was a lime green Fairmont that it was actually a two-owner car. So I bought it off the second owner, so now obviously I'm the third owner. The first owner, funnily enough, was a Qantas pilot. So this car was actually parked at Adelaide Airport up until the early 2000s. And then after, I believe 2002, the owner prior to me had bought it and had the intention of turning it into a GT, but due to his financial circumstance, couldn't do it. So I ended up buying the vehicle. The car came from Inglewood, South Australia when I purchased it back in 2013, 2014, give or take. And within 2 weeks of me getting it, I had the car completely stripped down. So as you can imagine, being a 30-plus-year-old car, there's a little bit of rust on it, and I wanted to see basically the bare bones of the car so I can start planning what we're going to do with the restoration. So all in all, the car was actually quite good. There was only a few rust spots on it, and these are typically prone to rust in certain areas like the bottom of the doors and also the sill panels. But being that this was in a relatively dry climate, it didn't have a lot of rust, so it was a big win for me. So having a panel beating background, I got to work on pulling off all the panels, starting to do rust repairs and things like that myself. Because restorations in Australia and in general are quite expensive. So wherever I could potentially save some money and use my skills, I done so. So I set to work on stripping all the panels down, having them sandblasted, acid dipped, and pretty much prepared for the panel work. And then after that, I pretty much went through and done a lot of metal finishing on the car. Obviously there are areas where I needed to use a little bit of plastic filler, but that's in the age of the car. These cars naturally came out with a few ripples here and there from factory, but I just wanted that absolute pristine finish on the vehicle. So it's been a fair bit of time in between sort of panel work and painting. I only got the car back sort of last year in November, to where you see it now, and what I've basically done with it is I don't know if you can see here, but I've replaced all the suspension on the front end, so tie rod ends and whatnot, and in the rear end, and the reason why the back tyres are on is because I've put heavy duty leaf springs so the car will sit a little bit lower, as well as a very big heavy duty 9-inch diff. So the plans I'm basically looking at going on with this car is I want to put a 351 Cleveland in it, but I want to have an engine that replicates to a T externally. I should mention, that's my disclaimer, externally. to look like a 351 G out of an XY GT HO. So with all the original markings, the original heads, which were a 4V closed chamber setup, and also with the original 4V intake manifold, which I've actually just sourced one. A good friend of mine who actually owns a company up in the eastern suburbs of South Australia sourced one and found one for me. So I'm very grateful. Thank you, Johnny, for that one. So what we're going to do from there is start sourcing all those parts bit by bit, and the reason being is because they're extremely hard to come by. As you can imagine, the 4V closed chamber heads are expensive as well as hard to get in South Australia, and due to the current circumstances of COVID-19 and whatnot, it's been very hard to start sourcing parts. So what I've done in the meantime is, because obviously I don't want to sort of stand still on the car and just let it sit, I've started to buy other parts, so your petrol tank, all your indicator lights, which you can see over there in the background, and just other bits and pieces so I can actually start putting the car together. So basically when it's done, it will look like a genuine GTHO, but basically I just want to have obviously a little bit more power under the bonnet. So if we put a solid cam in it with some good lifters and a really good tune and maybe a different carburetor, we might see around the 450, 500 horsepower mark, which this day and age isn't a lot, but being that I want it to be a weekend cruiser, it's something I just want to be able to start and drive, take the family out for the weekend, and just enjoy it, enjoy the beauty of this car. So for anyone overseas that may be watching this video, these cars are extremely like the holy grail of cars. They actually call the XY GT the king of racing, and the reason why that is because through 1970 to 1972 and 1973, these cars were dominating at one of the toughest tracks in Australia, being the Bathurst 1000, which it's currently called now, but back when these were racing, it was called the Hardy Ferodo 500. So basically, it was just an endurance race. As you can imagine, these cars were out the box, out the dealership, driven straight to Bathurst and raced. I take my hat off to the drivers that wrangled these beasts around the track back in the day. Honestly, I've driven a genuine one, I've driven a replica one, and even with your updated suspension parts, they are still a handful to drive. You've got to remember that's 40 plus years of technology sitting there, but they're an incredible machine, incredible, a handful, and just a fun car to drive, and I believe that's what drew my attention to this car. So that's pretty much where I'm at with the car right now. Future plans with it is just to get it on the road. I don't really have a lot more to go in the scheme of things because the hardest part's done, being all the bodywork. The colour I've actually gone for is one of the most popular XY colours. It's Vermillion Fire Red. This was actually quite a popular colour when it came out with the black stripes, and I've also got the black accents on the bonnet, so obviously the front end looks quite aggressive. So orange, black with lots of chrome, it's going to look absolutely sensational when it's done. It's just going to be a weekend cruiser, potentially do a couple of track days with it down at Tailem Bend Motorsport Park and also at Malala. I do want to enjoy this car, I don't want it to be a shed queen, but it's a work in progress. Being that I've had the car over 10 years now, it's a very slow process to do a restoration, but when you want to do it properly, you need to take your time on these things. I've gone the whole hog on it. Pretty much everything you see on the car is brand new, except for the bolt-on panels. So new door handles, new mirrors, new shaker ring. It's going to have brand new interior, brand new drivetrain, brand new suspension. Everything's going to be absolutely brand new. Benefit for this car is that the aftermarket market, I should say, for it is fantastic, because there are a couple of aftermarket dealers in South Australia that actually sell pretty much the whole car in pieces, and you can purchase those components, whatever you may need. So that's where I'm at with it at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll grab the camera, we'll do a quick little walk around of the car, show you a few things I've done to it, and then we'll just wrap the video up. Okay, so my apologies for it being a little bit dusty. We've had some pretty crazy weather in Adelaide at the moment, so It is actually getting washed and put under a car cover in the next couple of days, as I've got some time off. But as you can see, we've got the matte black stripes on the bonnet and the new shaker ring. With these ones here, they're also known as the shaker because there's a shaker that's about an inch and a half high, which rumbles along with the V8. So if I open up the bonnet here, so I'll just grab that. You can pretty much see to the extent I've gone to, it's been full nut bolt restored, all new bolts, all new mechanisms put on for the bonnet and whatnot, and painted to factory specifications. And as you can see here, the legendary GT 351 symbol with the Subaru. No, not Subaru, we've got the Subaru. And these cars, funnily enough, are still actually being created in South Africa. Back in 1979, 1980, Ford actually sold the dies to South Africa to be able to produce these cars. So they've actually got the Super Rhino, which if you type that in on Google, you'll be able to actually see them. So as you can see, black stripes on the bonnet. If we come through to the back of the car, you can see that we've got the matte black back end on it with the Falcon GT badge. And coming through to the interior, you can see that it's all been painted black with a little bit of brown, which is what the car used to be. But yeah, we've got to get that touched up from the panel shop, and the hole's been cut out in the floor for the 4-speed top-loader gearbox. So pretty much, as I said, I've spared pretty much no expense on this car whatsoever. It's a beautiful car to start with, and luckily for me, there was not a lot of rust on it, so it was a quite easy restoration. So we'll just set the camera back down and pretty much just finish off the video. Perfect. So that's pretty much a little tour of my XY GT Replica. So if you guys want, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and what we'll do is we'll do a few more videos as time goes on in regards to starting to set the car up and whatnot, and then yeah, once it's finished, we'll take it out, do a few drives with it. The intention is to not rush the car and get it finished, so we're probably looking at maybe around another year and a half of restoring it. And as you can hear, the rain's just started because we are currently travelling into winter pretty quickly. So yeah, that's pretty much the go with this car. If you've got any questions or queries, feel free to comment below. I can let you know where all the parts have been purchased for this car from. So if you've got any issues with finding parts or whatnot, you can also hit us up on our Instagram page and Facebook, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. So guys, don't forget, like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we will be in touch with you very, very shortly. We'll also be doing other car videos. I know that we have a really cool car, a Cadillac from the movie The Great Gatsby, that I'm going to try and do a vlog with. I'm just speaking to the owner of the vehicle at the moment, and we're going to do some other vlogs on other cars. And if you can just see behind me, there's also a 2010 Supercharged GT, which you've probably seen on our Instagram page as well, which we will actually be doing a vlog with that in the coming weeks. Hopefully when the rain dies down, we'll get that out and do a vlog with that as well. So that's actually quite a rare car that's sitting next to this one. That one's actually one of the first 50 ever to come off the production line at the FPV headquarters over in Melbourne. So guys, thanks again for your time, and we'll be back on YouTube soon to do another video with you guys. Thanks.